for today, I'm going to make one last video for these, and it'll cover these last three because it's the page introduction and overall vision. And with that, in this video, I will talk about the interactive documentaries and transcript system, which is tools for the education major market vertical. And then the interactive continuous improvement ecosystem, that's strategic pivot. That is the interactive patent alert system. That is what is shared by all the social medias, and they work together to try to build the best patent alert system, which is access to opportunity. If you're somebody who has great ideas, and we're trying to make that an important part, that we want to protect people who have great ideas and do the work to try to figure these things out, follow along with these things, that put forth immense effort, we value that. That's an important part of our society. And so that's what this is all about. This is about making a more interactive society that protects people when they come to the table with great ideas. Some of these, this is part of governance now, is going to have some digital components, and we want to protect people who come to the table with different ideas. And some of those will be about how we regulate things, and people will prove that they have great ideas for how to be a politician and help get people to want to work together on these issues. Maybe that's some of what I can prove in my project here. But it's also important to give people the opportunity to protect people. When we talk about corporate accountability, businesses are in a better position than the average citizen who hasn't written a patent before, who's trying to reach to interact with things. And we want to protect the sanctity, the holiness of protecting the people who are trying to contribute, even though they might not have as many network benefits, or, you know, I had a shooting and a lot of things that mental health wise made it difficult for me to juggle this project when I started to have these ideas. And so it took me 5 years to draft this. And so, I'm sorry, getting back to page introduction and overall vision. Here's how we succeed at this. Here is the user interface. That I have two different variations of this, and I know this has to get modified still. But the idea is that you build an ecosystem where social medias branch together on this continuous improvement architecture, and that's over here. Interactive transcript system architecture. And there's a Java applet. I need to create a game engine, a custom game engine for the education sector to build these learning maps and make that easy to build those models for the education sector. And so that's an opportunity in the market for a team to build that game engine, that modeling engine, that concept modeling engine, which is your roadmaps to success. It will allow people to understand how the relationships between things and visualize that very easily. That's an important part of these complex discussions. I argue in learning, if you can understand and quickly visualize the way things are related, that's why it's useful to take good notes, and people who can organize their notes effectively usually have an easier time studying. And so if you can do part of this for people, it makes it easier for people to, there's still going to be some note-taking, which will be a process that helps people learn. And if they want to follow along and take their own notes, yes. But you can build these interactive learning maps, and also in social media, this is very important. We want to protect the people who are doing a lot of work to understand the background in these issues. When I want to talk about how to make a cyber force, there are key encryption compartmentalization strategies that we have to talk about. There are key components that we have to include in architecture. And Google has a great idea for this. I was actually onto this as an engineer. I was on to how to build this before Google made their designs public. And I have a variation of the Titan M chip, which works differently. That chip, the design, will work nearly perfectly with very few modifications for how I intended to use this component. But I intend to use it in a way where we combine security keys, and they're just storing security keys. And so I have a very specific set of strategies for how we open up that market. And that's what we want to talk about, is the health of the marketplace and how you create a thriving economy around building security solutions. And I have that. I can talk about that in my major market vertical. But as we're talking about these things, if you make it such that you can see people's differences in branches, differences in strategies, you can see who's coming to the table with what idea first, and make it easy to get patent alert systems built, such that if you're working on these technologies, you get alerts, maybe you partner with somebody else who has a subtle variation of your technology, and you make that pivot early on, and it reduces costs because you're able to pivot into that more advanced strategy that somebody else saw, which was an extension of your strategy. And then you allow that networking to happen. And again, I can't drive how important this is. You have more skills development in the workforce. You don't have people arguing over being afraid of the way technology can be used. Now they understand the way it's built, and so they're not afraid of the way their data is managed anymore. They're actually excited to see more solutions use their data in more creative ways because they know that that protects them and enables a greater quality of life. And people will argue about that if they don't understand how it can be built. And so if you can click a button and see who has done their work to understand the very insane amount of work, sometimes people put 10, 20 years worth of work and study into a solution, as in my case. For sure 5, I wasn't quite that much, but 8 approximately. And so it's not fair for somebody to expect for their opinion to be counted equally when they haven't done the work to understand something. That is not equality. That is something else, okay? And we need to be bold enough to say we can't continue to let these conversations be derailed by people who haven't done the work to deserve to have their opinion counted equally as all these other people. And we don't want that to be limited to just college. We want there to be a very diverse way people can follow along with this, such that it's conducive to different schedules and different amount of time. Different amounts of time people can commit to this. And you want to make it easy to build the ecosystem for making it possible to break apart the complexities in these issues. And so I want to talk about mastery.com. There's a study.com website, and there are different companies that are helping to build supplemental lesson plans. Mastery.com focuses on an interactive back and forth documentary system. And so you can build tools to make these interactive documentaries where there are pauses and then the quiz is intertwined with the video. Study.com just has quizzes that you can take after watching a video, but they create very, very polished, very, very high quality learning materials. And those are useful to supplement the lesson plans of teachers, but this can be so much more diverse than that, because you can have students earn credit in maybe some math classes. For example, you could earn extra credit by doing some digital logic work. And then when you're taking a math class, you can earn some extra credit in your math class by proving, because you have an interest in computers. And so you can do a little interactive preliminary research on how digital logic can work in high school. And so there are so many things that this model doesn't limit you to just what you have offered in the high school or what your high school has made a priority, because that doesn't cover everything. This applies to the diversity of what all human hearts can dream about. And so that's what's so important about this interactive transcript system. And you can make it very easy to sort through different pitches by allowing the social medias to branch together, and that's a key concept. How we build these banners in this overall page vision, how we build these banners, and there are different, oops, I went to the wrong page there. So let's go to pop-outs. Oh no, that's the one that I'm on. Let's go to docked. And so here's an alternate strategy for how you build these banners. And this one, I have my links docked. And I like this for a desktop version, but we're going to have to make a different version for mobile. Although tablets will be able to use this version when turned sideways. And so there are lots of complexities perfecting this user interface yet, and I just barely have enough skill to get this to this point right now. And I became full stack to try to describe this project, this very large project that I had in my mind. And so I'm still perfecting my user interface skills. But I've got this project outlined so that we can talk about that and how to succeed at this. And so you position this market to build these, to compete. The social medias compete over building the best user interface, the best ways of building these linked branches, and you're basically combining forum strategies with social media strategies such that we can have these different branches and alternate strategies and sort through how we effectively look at all these different strategies and credit the networking effectively. And we can build this very advanced tool for properly crediting and sorting different people, different teams, recruiting, creating this patent alert system which protects the inventor, and different companies chase after the great ideas because they want to be able to work with those ideas. And so you can build this really cool way of building a more interactive economy. And you get more skills development. I can't stress this enough. You organize your platform in these ways, different major market verticals, and they can all talk about recruiting for their teams in way more diverse ways. It will reduce your recruiting costs for sure. You will have less turnover because you will find the perfect people for different positions that have huge amounts of passion to see success in those arenas, who have done incredible amounts of work to bring creative solutions, to understand creative solutions, to understand how we accomplish what we accomplish now, and then how we build a better version of that. And so that's the whole point of these key layers here. And so we will have this interactive documentaries and transcript system, and you put the education market in control of this major market vertical. And I've said this in the defining documents, but again, the companies in education that are driving the dominant share of that market, they will be able to determine the profit sharing with this central layer that makes the interactive transcript system possible to manage in an open source way between these different businesses. And so we need this more advanced model where we won't really have a true advanced digital democracy. But if we get this right, it is so incredibly valuable because of how much more skills development you have in the workforce, how much more critical thinking you then have, and then how much safer that keeps you because you're able to understand and talk about the complexities of these situations and avoid, you come up with more strategies for peace rather than end up in a standoff related to disagreements. Because there are so many different ways we can build so many different creative solutions, and there's a way to do it in a way that's best for everyone. And so that's the idea of open source, really, and having these open source layers. And then on top of that interactive documentary system and transcript system, now you can build a very, very detailed pitch exploration engine. Do you understand RSA technology? Because that's a key component in my design for how we make hacking impossible. You would have to understand how that technology rotates and how then, if you wanted to create an algorithm to try to hack this platform, number one, you can't just discover a key or filter out a key and then use that later on. These keys are rotating. And so you would have to be able to understand, you can't even, there are limits to how an algorithm can sort through all these different arrangements of keys and mathematically try to hack something through brute force. And if it doesn't have enough time to do that, because the algorithm is rotating, no computer will ever have enough time to brute force hack a platform because the keys are rotating. And so you don't have enough time to deduce how to hack the platform before the keys rotate again. And so there's no way that you can ever hack it. There's no way that you can brute force hack it. The only way that you could hack it would be you'd have to get inside knowledge of all these different teams, or I don't even think that it's possible with the way these chips can be built. There's no way to take apart the chips and somehow read or scan the device to deduce it that way. You can make that impossible in your manufacturing processes. And so, again, this is just one example of how we make hacking impossible. And the health of the market and how we talk about complex psychology solutions, that's another piece. If we want to succeed at gun control in a very logical way, we don't want to, I know we want to look at background, and that's one key piece, but factored into that, the piece that we're not doing and the piece that's most important, the piece that would actually allow psychology to become the most informed science it could, is if we understand how to build a digital diary tool that can help uncover repetitive thoughts. Okay, and then you get people the help they need in a very, oh, we understand that you're going down this direction, and that's very understandable. Lots of people who experience the things that you've experienced feel a lot of the things that you feel. And if you can get somebody to bond over those conversations early on when they start to have these repetitive thought loops. I almost committed suicide growing up because I didn't realize how deeply I was impacted by a shooting, and honestly the way that I perceived the Vietnam War and how our government probably failed there. And as I've done more research, it becomes more clear to me that, we weren't doing enough research to understand some of the cultural dynamics with Buddhism and how that religion will want to support communist strategies. And we were too afraid of communism because that was created before World War I. World War I was to end monarchies. There were monarchies all across Europe. And the French Revolution tried to address this, but for the most part it was monarchies all across Europe. And that's what World War I was really about. And Karl Marx, before World War I, because World War I was the early 1900s, in the mid 1800s, Karl Marx creates the Communist Manifesto. And he was dreaming of a world that didn't have monarchies and a different way of doing it, that empowered the people, not the privileged or people who come from status, which is what he perceived leadership to really be then. And there was some truth to that. And so, and the thing is, I've really experienced, if we're going to have a truly equal world, a first-to-file system needs to account for the reality. I had to go through all of these things that slowed me down. And it isn't fair to stop the whole market because of the unique nature of my background. But it is fair to protect me early on and say, hey, he had some things that he had to sort through, and it's understandable that this slowed him down a little bit. We should still count this person as a very valid potential contributor. And maybe this person, now that they've found their purpose in life, will be able to contribute really big things. And so there are all these factors, and I feel like I muddied this video a little bit. I'm going to redo this later on. But this is how you build this key part. This is the heart of what enables this more advanced government. It's these two layers. It's this interactive transcript system and how that enables your interactive continuous improvement ecosystem, which is your pitch exploration engine built on collections of concepts. Here's the RSA technology concept, some digital logic application, and talking about different security algorithms that are relevant and how you combine these. And if you understand all of that, you can understand this pitch. But if you don't understand all of that and you're throwing around comments about being afraid of the way technology can be used in an overbearing government, you're not understanding the lengths we've gone to make hacking impossible and how that actually makes a safer world. If you're not able to understand how the technology comes together, you can't. I'm sorry, this is a reality. You can't have an opinion on whether or not it's a good decision because you don't understand how it works. And we can't argue with people who don't understand how it works and waste all that time. We need to be able to say people have to do the work to understand these things in order to object in a rational way, and we need to shift the conversation away from just fear of technology and blind objection and get people focused on, I object with this key piece, and I think that if you managed it this way, we would solve that problem. I would be more comfortable with it. And then you engage people in really deep conversation. But we need some tools to do that because these are very complicated conversations. And so this is a long video. I will make this whole page better over the weekend, and I will get my major market verticals up on Sunday. And then yes, maybe into the full utilization of the brand, which I've talked about really in different pieces here, but it's so important. And also the proof the time is now, and an About Me page, because I experienced some very difficult things. And that's why I had the motivation to get this project done, because of how important it was to me after the shooting and after spending so much time thinking about the way we have the fighting leads to more fighting so often. And we need to think about really creative strategies, weapons of peace, not weapons of war, mutually assured success for the modern age, not mutually assured destruction. As we're building AI weapons, that's not a direction that we should go. We need to go mutually assured success. And so you can do that like this by building this platform. And through this strategy, I should have talked about this in the complex insurance and bailouts for shutdowns, but there is a path to pay off a huge chunk of the national debt by giving 50% of the equity in the Strategic Pivot brand to the US government. Now, all these other businesses are going to be able to manage this brand through these major market vertical defined strategies, and they're going to be able to come together with autonomy for each of those layers of the platform, alongside a cyber force that the government manages, and they make their regulation goals, and they oversee this cyber force initiative to make sure that these AI technologies and other technologies, the way these data ecosystems are built, have maximum security incorporated for the modern age. And this is how we succeed at paying off the national debt. 30 years from now, 50% of this equity can be auctioned off over a staggered period of time, maybe 10 to 20 years. And yes, we will have this company that is a privatized insurance company, a continuous improvement model, because continuous improvement is how we manage core infrastructures. It's a huge part of governments now. It's how we define free markets and access to opportunity in so many ways, especially when you think about this interactive transcript system and everything that can do for us in all reality. And so here's how we succeed at these things. Here's how we enable a more advanced government and a collection of platform layers through an open source psychology and a more advanced government definition for how we manage those key layers that allows us to have a democratic government in the modern age, which isn't controlled by these markets. It is a team working to build the strongest markets, to build the healthiest solution collaboration we can possibly have, so that we're building those skills. We're social engineering our society that way, so that we have more and more skill to accomplish more and more things. Thank you for watching.